Hello everyone and welcome to Shauna Stitches, episode number 38. Today is September the 16th, 2018, and I am coming to you from my craft room, which is a mess. I'll talk about that a little bit later, in Oregon, Pacific Northwest. I'm drinking some coffee today. I have these little like wine spritzer things in a can that I really contemplated bringing to the podcast, but it is only 3:30 p.m. here, so I thought, I'll wait. Gotta keep it classy. All right. It's been about 2 weeks since I recorded last, so I have managed to stay on a pretty good schedule. And I am just wrapping up my week-long knitcation. And you guys, it has been amazing. If I could figure out how to just stay home and knit all the time, it would be great. And I would have so many finished objects to show you guys. But that's not feasible. So I'm going to show you what I managed to get done in the last, really 2 weeks, but mostly in the last week. My first finished object are my crazy hexagon socks. I mentioned last time I recorded that I got the inspiration for these socks. I guess I should show you the pretty side of the sock blocker, right? I got the inspiration for these from a Finnish pattern called Hipsulaisen Kiraselli. I still don't know if I'm saying that right. That's the phonetic enunciation. Anyways, I saw that the pattern for that pattern is on Ravelry now. As of this morning, I saw it's a free pattern. I did check it out. It is, I don't know if I should say quite a bit. It's different. It's definitely different than the way I did mine. I happen to like mine better, but it is what it is. So anyway, I'm really glad that I was able to figure it out on my own. They don't match 100%. In fact, they're off by like one stripe, and that doesn't bother me at all, actually, simply because, well, they'll be in my shoes anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But also, I was just worried about running out of the yarn because I didn't really know how much this kind of construction would take for a sock, and truly, it took about the same as it would for any normal pair of socks for me. That was with Ice Yarns, no color name because they don't have one. And in case you didn't watch my last episode, but I will say go back to the last episode for more information if you're really curious. But this sock has very unique construction. You start by casting on in the Emily Ochre circular cast on or something similar to that. And you form a hexagon until it gets large enough. And for my version, I Kitchener stitched the top, well, two of the sides together. And then picked up stitches. Well, really didn't pick up too many stitches. I knit live stitches here, knitted up, did the cuff. And then same thing here, knit live stitches, knit down, and added a toe. For as funny as these look like this, because they do look very funny, this gives you some kind of idea how they look on the foot. But quite honestly, they look even better than this. And I will insert some pictures because I took a whole bunch of photos of these socks on my feet as soon as I finished them. They're also on my Ravelry page. I guess I sort of really just jumped into finished objects, I guess because I'm excited about them. But bringing up Ravelry, that reminds me, you can find me as Shauna Stitches on Ravelry, on YouTube. I do have a Ravelry group, although it's pretty darn quiet for the Shauna Stitches podcast. I have a Facebook, an actual Shauna Stitches Facebook. And where else? I feel like I'm leaving somewhere else. Oh, Instagram, of course. I post a lot of photos and stories to Instagram, so you can always get an idea of what I'm working on there. And also, welcome to new viewers and welcome back to returning viewers. I feel like I'm doing this all out of order, but You guys know my ridiculousness already, so you keep coming back. Or at least I hope you keep coming back. All right, next finished object are what I was calling my birthday socks. Right here, I have two of them. Very exciting. These are the Scatterbee socks. You can see the really cool texture there. It looks kind of like butterflies. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Super simple to do. I really enjoyed this pattern. Sorry guys, I didn't realize that my volume was on. All right, it's off now. I totally lost my train of thought with that too. Anyway, super simple pattern. I really enjoyed the pattern. It's free on Ravelry. Even more enjoyable to the pattern was the fact that this yarn by Candy Skein Yarns is so soft and amazing. Plus the colors are just, I love them. So yeah, all that made it really fast and enjoyable. However, I will say I don't know if I will knit this pattern again. And that's because in knitting it, it's only a 4-row repeat, but I had to look at the instructions the entire time for both socks. You know, you'd think after, and I don't knit a short sock, you'd think after this many repeats that you'd finally have it down. I should say this many times too. You'd finally have it down, but I don't know why, I just couldn't memorize it. And it was fine. Like once I'd look at the instructions, I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'd know how to do that row, but it still kind of stinks. Anyway, moving on. I did the Vanilla is the New Black heel, which I have not worn these in shoes yet, but just trying them on, it fits really great. And I also did the Fish Lips Kiss heel as a toe, which this one I can tell you, I Kitchenered the bottom of this one. And I had that conversation with you guys last time about I wasn't sure if I would start from the bottom and Kitchener the top this time, and that's exactly what I did. I would say this Kitchener stitch is not nearly as noticeable, although I did notice it somewhat. And it's really hard to tell because it's right at the top of that last row, so it's hard to tell like what's the last row and what might be my Kitchener stitch. I can definitely see it when I'm just looking at it here. But that being said, these have not been washed or blocked at all. And as long as it holds, I don't really care. If I can just see one row of stitches that looks a little different than the others, but it holds, I'm not going to cry about it. And I explained why this one looked more ridiculous than this one last time, but I will mention that again really quickly. It's just because I was attempting, well, I did close this up on Kitchener with a 9-inch circular. So I had a lot of resistance, and it was a Chiagu 9-inch circular as well. So it just wouldn't really close super close, and I think that's what happened. Not worried about it, and I think it's going to be fantastic, so it'll work. What else? I still have 2 more finished objects to go, you guys. I've been a knitting machine. I finished my Stitch Surfers. These also look really ridiculous on the sock blocker and not on a sock blocker. But once you put them on your feet, not only do they fit really well, but they look really cool too. The one thing that does look funny, let me take this off the blocker and show you. The one thing that looks funny to me is that you have this very separated portion here, and when it's on your foot, you know, either your big toe's here or it's here, and it looks kind of like you're wearing like socks with sandals, like thong sandals, you know, like you'd have the thing between your toes right there. That's the only weird kind of thing. Someone was asking me how the seam felt on the bottom of the foot. I wore these just while I was sitting for a few hours, and I didn't notice anything at all, but I haven't done a lot of walking at all in these. So I don't know, but I will report back. I'll make sure and wear them like on a day where I'm hanging around the house so that I don't have to worry about being at work and like in pain in case the seam isn't good. But for all the pages I looked at on Ravelry, nobody mentioned that this was super noticeable. So let's hope that it isn't. It's just a wrap and turn that goes all the way down the bottom. But, you know, feeling it with my fingers, I guess you can feel it, but it's not bad. This is Knit Picks Felici. I never say that right. Knit Picks Felici in the color Candy Shop, I do believe is what it was. And this one here is Knit Picks Stroll in Candy Apple. Is that right? Sour Apple. Something like that. I don't remember, and I don't have the ball band right here. So, yeah, anyway, those are finished. I'm really glad that they're done. The only thing I didn't enjoy about this pattern as much, I keep forgetting to show the pretty side. The only thing I didn't like as much was that you have to purl back every row because it's intarsia. And it's not bad. I don't mind purling. I think I definitely am a little bit slower when it comes to purling, but it's not the worst thing ever. And in fact, it's for a vanilla sock, it has interest. It's more than vanilla, obviously. But once you understand the pattern, it's super quick to pick up. Like, I got to a point where I never have to look at the pattern, so that's great. Like, I would have to look at it now to start a new pair, but once you get going, it's very simple. All right, one more last, didn't sound right, one last finished object, which is a hat. This is the Yorkville Hat, which Mina Phillip just released, the Knitting Expat. She released her whole New York hat collection, which uses textures from her New York sock collection. And this one is for Glenn, my boyfriend, if you don't know. So you can see, because it's so textured, like it fits me pretty well. Kind of slouchy, which I don't normally do the slouchy hat thing at all. In fact, I'll do this for you guys because I think it's funny. But I was taking photos and I was trying to figure out, like, is this going to be big enough for a big man head? And so I was like, I just wonder how long it is. Yep, there it is. But anyway, Glenn, this fits him. He's quite a big guy. He's tall and does not have a small frame, and this fits him great. Neither of us really like slouchy hats, so I did not make this slouchy. And actually I knit it, I stopped about a ½ inch before the non-slouchy version is recommended, and I did do the folded brim. I actually did, oh my gosh, I can't think what it's called. The provisional cast on. I actually did a provisional cast on, which is super simple, you guys. If you have been reluctant to try a provisional cast on, I highly recommend the one where you use a crochet hook to go around the knitting needle. Very simple. I had no issues whatsoever. I know I tried a provisional cast on a long time ago where you do the crochet chain and then you pick up the bumps from the chain, and that to me didn't, it was more confusing, and when it came to rip out the provisional cast on, even though I followed the directions, I think, to a T, I ended up trying to undo the wrong side of the crochet, so I ended up like having to cut it out. It was just not fun at all. But the one where you're wrapping the yarn around the knitting needle and then pulling it through the crochet hook is amazing. So that was super simple to make sure that I had this is gonna be so hard to see. Anyway, it matches up perfectly. Like there's no wonkiness, because I've done that before where you just start the hat and you know what? I just totally saw I have a drop stitch on the inside. I don't know how that happened, but I'm gonna have to fix that. Luckily, this is well, I have another ball of it right here. This is Patton's Classic Wool, worsted, obviously. And this is non-superwash, so I'm not worried about that stitch moving. In fact, Glenn has worn this. He wore it to work yesterday, I think. But anyway, I'll just pull that stitch through and leave it. Oh, I'll probably work it up. It'll be fine. I'll figure it out. So that is that, and I did buy the whole collection. I'm really excited to knit them all up. In fact, if you're watching, if you're not watching, if we're like close personal friends, you're probably getting a hat this year. Unless, of course, I just totally lose steam on knitting hats, and then you're not getting a hat. So either way, don't count on it. But I did order some more yarn for hats, and as well as, okay, so let's just talk a minute about big store box yarn, which this is, the Patton's Classic Wool. Got it from my Joannes, and you know, it is what it is. Like, I did not mind knitting with this at all. I've knit with much scratchier yarns before. Glenn said when he was wearing it for an extended period of time, it felt a little scratchy, but I have not washed and blocked this yet, so I am going to wash it when I'm done here after I fix that stitch. But that skein that I knit that with, because I like to weigh my yarn balls, cakes, skeins, hanks, whatever, before I get started. That way when I weigh it at the end, I know exactly how much I used. And so I weighed that one, and it was 98 grams. And I was already feeling like I was going to run out. In fact, if you were watching my stories, I kept posting, okay, it's this tall, I have this many grams left. And I kept doing the math, and I was for sure that I was going to run out. But then ending the pattern before it was supposed to end saved me a little bit of yarn. And then, of course, the decreases just take less yarn. And I literally had maybe 2 feet of yarn left, like not even a yard. So I had gone to Joann's to get more of this yarn. And this was the very last one of this color, which is Passion Heather, in case you're wondering. Quick side note, this yarn is so cool. Can you see that? There's blue and yellow and green and red. It's just really pretty. I can't believe all the colors that are in this, especially for a commercial yarn. Anyway, back to my rant. I get that you don't pay a lot for this, but shouldn't it be 100 grams if the thing says 100 grams? I even weighed it with the ball band. Well, this one was 97 grams, and I take the ball band off. And so I was like, maybe they weigh it with the ball band on and just they're calling it 100 grams. No, it was 99 grams with the ball band on. I know it's only a gram, but you know what? When you're down to the wire on a hat, it's super stressful to think you're going to run out of yarn. Or maybe you do run out, and if you had that extra gram, you wouldn't run out. That is a nice thing about indie dyers. For the most part, almost every single skein I've ever bought from an indie dyer is overweight, which I totally appreciate. For those things like that, you know, or if you're doing a swatch or whatever, you know, there's a good reason why you need the 100 grams that it says. Especially because most patterns are written banking on the fact that you have 100 grams. I don't know. Rant over. Maybe. All right, works in progress. I made some progress on Glenn's Stitch Surfer. But you guys, I just needed to quit purling back. It was driving me crazy. I just needed a break. So I am almost to the heel on this one. If you didn't watch last time, the other one is done. So let's see here. Actually, these stripes should match up or darn close to it because I tried to match them. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm literally, I can't tell. What color did I start the heel on? I think I'm there. Anyway, I'll have to figure that out when I pick it up again. So, yeah, nothing too exciting to say about this. The larger striped yarn over here is an Ice Yarns Magic Sock, which is their self-striping. And I don't recall what this is, but it's like a denim-y colored variegated yarn that I'm using as a solid, which I get it's not solid, but it's more solid than this. So Glenn is super excited to have those done. Someday they will be done. If I had another week my goal really was to like finish, I won't say everything I have on the needles, but like that was my goal, just to get as much stuff off the needles as I could. That being said, I obviously did cast some things on. That hat I cast on right away. I have more hats to cast on. Just like, I have a never-ending list of things to knit. The other thing that I have worked on this week is a new cast on. And it's this. So you're probably wondering what this little thing that looks like a squid at the bottom is. It's going to be a, do they call it tubular cowl, I think? So it'll be like double thickness. If you guys have seen or heard of the Tale as Old as Time cowl, it's in the theme of that. So essentially what I'm going to do is knit one entire ball and then the other entire ball, which are definitely not Beauty and the Beast colors, but I feel like it's kind of girly, kind of masculine, right? So it's like in the theme of, although I didn't buy the pattern, so it's only my guesstimate as to exactly what was going on in that pattern, but it's fine. I can make my own. I don't think it's a big deal. But I cast this on to be my cinema knitting or going out, like social knitting, where I just don't want to have to think about anything, and it's perfect because it's stuck in it in the round. It doesn't get any easier than that. You'll see I have this on some bamboo needles at the moment, which for all of you wood needle lovers, good on you. I'm not. I love my metal needles, so I actually have some on order. They should be here soon, I hope. And these, you know, not to knock all wood needles, because some are definitely better than others. These are like Joannes, whatever, I can't remember the name of the brand, but yeah, they're nothing fancy. And so you can see like the tips are really dull. Luckily, I don't need anything super sharp for this, but I just prefer that. And I prefer the slicker, faster motion of the metal. The yarns I'm using are also not very fantastic at all, but they do have good memories. This has been sitting in my stash. It's literally probably, actually both of them are two of my oldest sock yarns ever. And that's because they are Barocco Comfort Sock. This is made of 50% nylon and 50% acrylic. So, little backstory about both of these. I was just learning to knit. My goal was to knit socks. I had never knit a sock in my life, and I was coming from the world of being a crocheter. You know, I get that some crocheters use really luxurious, nice yarns, but I was not that kind of crocheter. I mostly made huge blankets, and a blanket quantity of crochet yarn gets quite expensive. So I knit with acrylic. And I'm not ashamed of that because I made some really fabulous things. And for a blanket, I would use acrylic again any day. I know some of you are just shaking your head like, what the heck? But yeah, it is what it is. In fact, I will insert a photo of the favorite project I've ever made in my life called the Sophie's Universe blanket. It's a crochet blanket which uses probably every crochet stitch imaginable plus some. I think they may have made up some things just for that pattern. It is absolutely fabulous. It is knit with Red Heart Super Saver. And it it washed and dried so soft and nice. And believe it or not, the stitch definition was amazing. So anyway, rant over. I still use acrylic yarn sometimes. But anyway, I never try to make any socks with these because very shortly after I was learning to knit, I started watching podcasts, and I learned so much in such a short amount of time about the importance of wool for socks, and you know, they'd be more hard wearing, they'd fit better, it'd bounce back, you know, a million different reasons. So this just sat in my stash. But the cool thing is I bought this yarn when I was up at Pike's Place in Seattle, and I wish I could remember the name of the shop because it was a really cool shop. But I can remember as a brand new knitter walking through there, I couldn't even tell you the brands of yarn I was looking at the time, but I'd pick one that I just thought was beautiful, and I'd look at it and I'd be like, oh my goodness, you know, looking at the price tag, and which is why these end up coming home with me. I still have at least one other, and then some other non-wool sock yarns. So I'm really thinking, and this is me talking after like 5 inches of knitting, I really think I like this project a lot. I think I may always have one of these on the needles, so using up that sock yarn that's not wool should be pretty easy to do. And that being said, this is actually super soft. I have no complaints. We went out to dinner, and then where we went had live music last night, so I decided, oh, I'm just going to pop in a progress keeper and see how much I can get done. And so it was probably about the length of a movie that we were there, and that's what I managed to get done. And I find this to be super addicting knit. Like how you guys talk about vanilla socks, that's what this is for me, because even on a vanilla sock for me, I'm like, oh, when do I need to put in the heel? When do I need to put in the toe? Constantly measuring. This, literally, I don't have to think about a thing. And it's so exciting to watch the new color start. And it's like when I start a color and I see the change, well, then I have to do the whole row to get the whole row that color. And then I want to finish that stripe so I can deal with the next stripe. And anyway, I'm just super enjoying it. I will say, I did not get a very well dyed skein of this. I have looked at projects. I'm using this exact same yarn. I lost the ball band to this one. It's the same comfort sock. And this one is number 1827. And I did look it up. This is color number 1828. It has a name attached to it, but I don't remember what it is. You guys probably don't want to buy it anyways. However, other projects I saw are completely solid, and mine is like a weird, I guess we'll call it speckly, but like especially in the yellow there, it's all muddy. I don't care, but I'm glad that A, it was inexpensive, B, it's for a project that's going to get wrapped multiple times around my neck, and that I don't really care. So anywho, I will keep you updated on the progress of that. It's going to be a long-term project if I can put it down. Like, it's supposed to be just for going to the movies and whatnot, which we don't do a ton, but sometimes once I get started, it's really hard to stop. I literally forgot my biggest work in progress. I'll be right back. Okay, I forgot it in the kitchen when I was weighing out yarn. You know, I'm terrible. I like never show you guys what bags I'm using because half the time they're ones that I made and nobody cares. But this one here that has my cowl, it's a little dirty. We'll show you the cleaner side maybe. This one is a Mrs. Brown's Bags. There we go. Mrs. Brown's Bags by Jody Brown of the Grocery Girls. This is one of her, I won't say originals, but it was pretty new to her having bags. I don't think she does this design anymore. She mostly does those knit fabrics. It's not actually knit, but it looks like knitting. Anyway, so I do love this bag. It's nice and big. The next project is in my Mina Phillip bag, back from when she used to make bags. And I had to get this bag because this cat right here reminds me of her cats, Hugo and Derek. And it's just so cute. Anyway, I'm almost done. My first colorwork mitten ever. It's just minus a thumb, which, you guys, it fits. I'm so excited. I literally stopped when I finished this right here just so I could come podcast, and delayed doing the thumb. Speaking of no thumb, I had this thought, maybe because I'm scared to do the thumb a little bit, but you know, people make the fingerless gloves. Why don't they just make a thumbless glove for like texting and using the phone? That would totally work. Although my thumb is colder than the rest of my hand, so maybe it would not be a good idea. This is the Scandinavia mitten pattern by Lily of Nordic Stitches. It is so amazing. I just love it, you guys. I was really bad and I didn't swatch for this, but I'm not going to tell you guys not to swatch. You should swatch. The pattern tells you to swatch, but I didn't swatch because I was just really excited to get going. So earlier on in my mitten, like right there, you can see I had some tension issues. It's not the best, but you know what? It's not the worst. I just kept going. So what I was doing was I was trying to knit Continental in one hand with the orange in this hand and the white in this hand, English style, which is how I normally knit. And Continental is just not for me. It's not something I've practiced, so you know, there's that. And with practice, I would probably get better, but I didn't care for it. So I switched, let's see, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to tell, but probably somewhere right around here, I switched to working both yarns on one finger, which I never thought I would be able to do. And it's a little bit slower, but honestly, with that, the 2 yarns on one finger, I'm faster than trying to knit Continental with my left hand. And my tension was much, much better. So super happy with that. Super happy with this pattern. I literally want to knit. I want to knit all the knits. I want to knit all the mitts right now. And I never thought I would be a mitten knitter. Not because I didn't want to. It just doesn't get extremely cold here. But this was super fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to show you guys my floats just because I can. Everyone always seems to want to know. I am obviously, as per my last statement, I am not a colorwork knitting expert, but I think I've done pretty good. I don't know. I just would catch a float if it went beyond 4 stitches. So like if it was just 4 stitches, I wouldn't catch the float. Like you can see, some of them there are a little bit longer, but I have not had any issues with my fingers getting stuck in anything this size. And I've tried this on so many times, you guys. But yeah, anything over 4. So if it was 5 stitches, I would catch either on the 3rd or the 4th stitch. I did learn a little trick. If you catch your float on a stitch of the same color, if it's possible, that seems to work better. Like you can see here, that's from like having to catch a float, and it's not the end of the world. From a distance, you probably can't even see it. And I'm happy with it. I have no complaints. I really love this side of it. It's just so pretty. And I had no idea. These things are like, I think, bulletproof. There is literally no stretch to them. They're just like tough, tough material. It's also kind of my first time. I know I said I knit that hat in more rustic yarn, but this stuff right here, the PT2 Rama Garn, Fennel PT2 Rama Garn. This is some very sticky stuff. I never quite understood what people were talking about when they were talking about color work and the yarn sticking together, but this stuff really sticks. Like you'll just be knitting along and sometimes I'll have to manually separate the 2 colors from each other because they've already gripped on so tightly to each other. And that's, you know, not felted or anything. I feel like this will felt on the inside a little bit, probably with wear. But I also feel like it's going to be so warm and cozy. And Glenn has been wanting some fingerless mitts for a while. And I don't think he wants mittens. But I haven't had a chance to look on Ravelry yet, guys. Does anyone know, is there a men's version? Does anyone make men's sizes of these mitts? Because I feel like I would need another like whole pattern repeat. Not just going up in needle size. Like it would need to be wider, obviously, and longer. Because if I went up that many needle sizes, it would be a very gappy fabric, I think. So yeah, if you know of any good fingerless or even fingered mitts that are color work, I would like to make a pair for Glenn. Maybe that can be his Christmas present. That hat was supposed to be his Christmas present, but I knew as soon as he saw it, it wasn't going to be. So I have to try and do some secret knitting. We'll see if I have time for that. Great pattern. Lily did a video that goes along with the pattern. She said that it's not for the beginner. I am a beginner and I figured it out, although the thumb is mostly what she covers in the video, so we'll see if I can figure that out. I think I can. We'll see. What was I going to say? I totally lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh, guys. Seriously, I hear crickets outside, but it's almost like my brain just cricket. I have no idea what my train of thought was with that at all. Okay, so we're just going to set it down. Maybe it will come to me. Okay, so also with my knitcation, I have been keeping track of like how much I've knit, kind of like if I was doing Stash Dash, except for starting September 1st. So since September 1st, I have knit, and this is only finished objects. This is not anything that's still a work in progress. So I've managed to finish 1,228 yards of yarn, and I took 5 skeins out of my stash. Unfortunately, I put 6 skeins in, and I have more yarn that I've ordered that hasn't come yet. I'm really trying to get to where I'm like knitting more out of my stash than I'm putting in, because I need to do that. Like I have a lot of stuff up there. So that's my goal. But then with the whole hat thing coming out and not having yarn for hats. So like for family members who I don't trust to hand wash or know that they need to hand wash, I bought some Knit Picks Stroll worsted to make some of the Mina Phillip Knitting Expat hat patterns for Christmas. And then for Glenn and I probably will just use that classic worsted wool. I'd like to make a hat of each of the patterns, but we'll see. I'm in knitting mode where like I don't have to work, but I do have to work starting tomorrow morning. I don't want to go back to work. Anyway. I'm going to show you one of those acquisition skeins. It is this beauty right here, which is called Pom Pom, I think. What does it say? Yeah, Pom Pom. So this is by Jinx Yarns. And if you guys haven't already heard, she stopped dyeing. And I had never gotten the opportunity to buy one of her skeins before. And hearing that she was going to stop dyeing forever was all the boost that I needed to pick up a skein, finally. This is just, I mean, this is so me. Remember what I said last time? If it has the orange and the pink, I'm sold. I would have loved to have gotten one of her Christmas skeins. Just because, you know, I have some stuff kind of like this in my stash, obviously, because this is me in a skein. But she was sold out of those by the time that I heard about it. And I'm not sad that I got this one instead. I probably would have just gotten both because, you know, that's what I need, more yarn. But yeah, anyway, it's super sad that she's not going to dye, but it is for health reasons, which are totally understandable. But hopefully you guys can understand why I added to my stash with this, because it's amazing. I can't wait to knit those up. I'm sure it will be socks probably for me. One more thing that I added to my stash that is not yarn. I finally bought myself this Knitter's Pride Melodies set of Zing needles. This is the interchangeable set. And you guys, is that not slight malfunction? This whole podcast is just going to be a mess. Anyway, let's hold them in this time. Aren't those beautiful? I had a bit of an issue, and some of you guys will probably say, well, you shouldn't have bought from Amazon. But I'm a bit of a bargain hunter at times, and I have enough needle sets. I just really wanted these. Plus, I had a friend who wanted to know more about these because I was talking about how much I love the Zing DPNs. And I had one of these anyway, and I just kept being good and putting it off. And finally, I just had a night where I was like, I'm just going to get it. Why not? I have the money. It's not like I don't. So I bought these. And guys, when I opened these up, none of these were in the elastic. Like you can see, this actually, well, I guess maybe it could. I was going to say it couldn't possibly fall out. But I don't think, just in shipping, that every single needle here would have fallen out of the elastic, right? But that's exactly how they came. Not a single needle was in the elastic, and they had all just banged around together in here. For as horrible as the packaging was when I got it, they seem to fare okay. I have one needle that may or may not be from that, but if you can see, it's just completely, like the powder coating's all chipped. I'm not sure. You can kind of see it there. Like there's some darker spots. So I'm not super happy about that. But that being said, this is a US 10.5, and I don't normally use needles that big. So I'm not as upset as I would have been if it was a small needle, because then I'd be really upset. But this set does have from a US 4 all the way up to a US 11. I'm kind of wondering if I didn't get a used set, although it said that it was, you know, new, or that someone had returned this already. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but again, I'm sure they'll work fine. I haven't used them yet, so I don't know. But what my friend and I were talking about was how the join on them would be. And so I screwed one together and it seemed really good. But again, that's not like running yarn over it. So I'll report back once I have actually used those. Hopefully that will be soon. But this came with 4 different sized cords. Actually 3 different sizes, but 4 cords. Because there's the 16-inch, then there's 2 32 inches, I believe, and then 1 to make a 40-inch. The one nice thing about these that I have noticed without using them is that they come with these connectors, and maybe other sets have these, but I certainly never got any with my set. So you can join cables together and you could make a really long cable with that, which I just think is very nice. So overall, I'm very excited. And to keep your cables in, it came with this cute little pouch, and it has a whole bunch of other cable ends, which I think are really nice. I don't really know what these are for. I think it's supposed to be for weaving in your yarn. I probably will not use those. It came with stitch holders, which are nice. And that's about it. It came with multiple of these. Like, I think enough for one for every cable, which is super nice for someone like me who, although I'd love to be monogamous, I'm usually not. Anyway, what do we have? Life stuff. I feel like life has been pretty okay. I mean, nothing too crazy because I haven't been at work. It's been very nice staying at home. I got to catch up on podcasts, which was amazing. So many good podcasts to watch, and I usually don't get to watch them all. I was able to be lazy, but I still got my workouts in. Had a bit of a health scare with Glenn. We were out at dinner, and I guess when you just know what someone looks like, you don't like and stare at their face constantly. But we got in the car, and he had this like golf ball size thing on his chin. Like, not like a thing sticking out, but like his skin was swollen. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to go to the hospital now. And he reluctantly went, and thank goodness, because they put him on, well, they had to cut it open and squeeze it out, which is gross, but I'm not somebody who really, I don't get too grossed out by stuff like that, especially if I don't have to do it. But they did that and then put him on some antibiotics right away. So he is on the mend, which is good. Just one of those things, like, you can't put that stuff off. Because I know him. It was already like 7 o'clock, I think, ish, when I saw it. And he would have waited till the next day after work or something. And then it would have been like, you know, the size of his head or something ridiculous like that. So anyway, if you get something weird like that, especially if it grows the size of a golf ball overnight, because he had said something the night before, like, oh, I think I have ingrown hair or something. And if it grows that fast overnight, it is serious business. So definitely go get it checked out so that you can get better. I think that's about it for now, guys. I hope you have or are having a wonderful day. And thanks so much for watching. I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.